A billionaire father thought he had everything until a simple hug from a waitress changed his entire world. Ethan Ward was used to a life of luxury and constant attention. But on this particular morning, he wanted something different, something quiet, something ordinary. The billionaire, known in the business world for his sharp mind and relentless work ethic, had never been one to indulge in simplicity. Yet there he was, driving down a small, less-traveled road. His daughter Lily sitting beside him in the passenger seat, her small fingers gripping the edge of the car seat. Lily was only 6, with golden curls that bounced every time she laughed and wide, curious eyes that seemed to take in the entire world at once. Ethan had spent the last few years focused on business, and raising Lily on his own had been a challenge, but she was the light of his life. He wanted today to be just about her. They turned into the parking lot of a tiny diner tucked between a gas station and a small grocery store. The sign above the diner swung slightly in the breeze, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the open door. It was the kind of place Ethan had never visited before, the kind of place where people knew each other by name and life moved at a slower pace. He parked the car and helped Lily out, holding her tiny hand gently. "Do you think they have pancakes?" Lily asked, her voice full of hope. Ethan smiled. "Let's find out," he said, enjoying the rare feeling of not being in control, letting life surprise him. Inside, the diner had a warm, welcoming atmosphere. The walls were decorated with old photographs and vintage signs, and the smell of syrup and bacon made Ethan's stomach rumble. Lily's eyes lit up, and she tugged him toward a small booth near the counter. As Ethan settled in, he noticed that the place was busy but not crowded. Filled with locals chatting and laughing, the sound of clinking dishes and soft music creating a cozy hum. A waitress moved quickly between tables, her movements graceful but hurried. She wore a simple uniform and had a kind expression that made everyone seem comfortable. Lily's attention, however, was fixed on the waitress. She had a kind face, with soft brown hair tied back in a neat ponytail, and eyes that seemed to sparkle when she smiled. Lily's curiosity got the better of her, and before Ethan could even realize it, she had slipped out of the booth and wandered toward the counter. Ethan, engrossed in a phone call about a meeting later that week, barely noticed at first. Lily said brightly, her voice carrying over the quiet hum of the diner. The waitress looked down at the small girl, a little startled, but then her face softened. "Hello, sweetheart. What's your name?" she asked, crouching slightly to meet Lily's gaze. "I'm Lily," she said. Then, without warning, Lily did something that made Ethan freeze in surprise, even before he turned around. She opened her little arms and hugged the waitress tightly. "Can you be my mom?" Lily whispered, resting her head against the waitress's chest. Ethan's phone slipped from his hand, and he turned around slowly, his eyes widening as he saw the scene. The waitress looked startled, taken aback by the intensity of the hug and the unexpected question. And for a moment, she didn't know what to say. Then, gently, she wrapped her arms around Lily and patted her back. "Oh, honey, I don't know about that," she said softly, a hint of a smile breaking through her surprise. Lily smiled back, seemingly content with the embrace, as if she had found exactly what she needed in that moment. Ethan quickly made his way to the counter, his mind racing. He had seen many things in his life: business deals, crises, media storms, but nothing like this. His daughter, who had been shy and cautious around strangers for most of her life, had just hugged a woman she barely knew and asked her to be her mother. Ethan knelt down beside Lily, still holding her hand, and tried to mask his astonishment. "Lily, sweetheart, how about we ask for some pancakes first?" he said, hoping to steer her back to something normal. The waitress, recovering from her surprise, nodded and led them to a booth, taking their order. Ethan watched carefully as Lily's small fingers traced the edge of the table, her eyes occasionally glancing up at the waitress. There was a warmth between them, something natural and effortless, that Ethan could not explain. It was strange and beautiful all at once. He wondered what it was about this woman that had drawn his daughter to her so strongly, so instantly, as they waited for their food. Ethan tried to make sense of what had just happened. He remembered how Lily had asked for her mother often since his wife's passing, but this was different. It wasn't a simple question. It was a connection, something deeper, something that seemed to reach beyond words. Ethan realized he had never seen Lily so open, so trusting, so immediately attached to someone she had just met. He felt a mix of emotions, curiosity, concern, and a strange sense of hope. The pancakes arrived golden and steaming, and Lily dug in eagerly, chatting with the waitress about colors, animals, and school. Ethan sat back for a moment, observing them, feeling a sense of calm wash over him. For once, he was not the center of attention, not the problem solver or the decision maker. He was just a father watching his daughter find joy in the smallest of places, in the simplest of connections. It was a moment that reminded him that life, for all its complexity, could still surprise him in the most human and unexpected ways. When they left the diner, Lily holding his hand tightly, Ethan felt a strange pull in his chest. He knew that what had happened inside that small, unremarkable diner was not just a fleeting moment. It was the beginning of something he could not yet name, a change, possibility, and perhaps even a kind of healing he didn't know he needed. As they walked to the car, Ethan glanced back at the waitress, who waved shyly, and he found himself thinking that maybe, just maybe, this ordinary day might turn into something extraordinary. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the little diner and the surprising encounter with Lily and the waitress. Maya. Even days later, the image of Lily hugging Maya and asking her to be her mom lingered in his mind. Ethan had seen many things in his life, luxurious parties, high-stakes business meetings, and people who acted one way in public and another. In private, but the genuine warmth and connection between Maya and his daughter was something entirely different. It had left an impression he couldn't ignore. He found himself wondering who Maya really was, what had brought her to this small diner, and why Lily felt such an instant bond with her. A few days later, Ethan decided to return to the diner. This time, he brought Lily early in the morning, hoping to observe the interaction between his daughter and Maya without disturbing her too much. As they walked through the door, Maya looked up from cleaning a counter. Recognition flickered in her eyes, and she gave a small, polite smile. Lily, as usual, ran to her without hesitation, calling her name excitedly. Maya, Maya, guess what? I really like you. Ethan watched from a booth, feeling a strange mixture of pride and curiosity. His daughter's natural ability to connect with people was remarkable. But the depth of trust she showed toward Maya surprised him. Maya seemed uncomfortable at first, fidgeting slightly as she adjusted her apron. But she quickly smiled and crouched down to Lily's level. She asked about Lily's day, her favorite games, and her little adventures. Ethan noticed how effortlessly she engaged with Lily, listening and responding with patience and genuine interest. Unlike many adults who tried to entertain children mechanically, Maya's interest was sincere. Ethan felt a sense of admiration, but he also felt a growing curiosity. There was something familiar about her, though he couldn't quite place it. After a few minutes of small talk, Ethan approached the counter to pay for their breakfast. While speaking to the cashier, he asked casually about Maya. "Has she worked here long?" he asked. The cashier smiled warmly. "Maya. Oh, she's been here for a couple of years. Everyone loves her. She's sweet and hardworking. But she's a bit private, you know? Keeps to herself, outside work." Ethan nodded, intrigued. There was something in Maya's eyes when she interacted with Lily that spoke of hidden depth. A life with challenges and experiences that she didn't openly share. Ethan felt the urge to know more. Later, as Lily finished her pancakes, Ethan approached Maya directly. "I'm Ethan Ward," he said, extending his hand politely. Maya shook it, a little surprised but polite. "I'm Maya," she replied. Ethan smiled, feeling the familiar business instinct in him stirring. He was curious, observing details, reading emotions. "I couldn't help noticing how naturally Lily responds to you," he said. "It's rare for her to connect with someone so quickly." Maya looked away for a moment as if unsure how to respond. "She's a special kid," she said softly. Ethan nodded, sensing that she was holding back something. Over the next few weeks, Ethan found himself returning to the diner more often. At first, he told himself it was because Lily enjoyed it. He soon realized he was drawn there for reasons he didn't fully understand. He began noticing small things about Maya, how she laughed with genuine joy when Lily told a story, how she moved with care when handling orders, and how she seemed to carry herself with quiet strength despite the hard life he suspected she had led. Ethan, despite his wealth and status, felt a deep respect for her resilience. One afternoon, as Ethan and Lily sat near the counter, he noticed Maya speaking quietly with an older woman who had come in to ask for help with a bill. Maya's voice was calm, firm, and full of empathy. Ethan watched closely, realizing that Maya's kindness extended beyond the diner and into her everyday life. It wasn't just a performance for customers. It was genuine. He felt a subtle but strong pull toward her, a curiosity that went beyond mere observation. Something about her life, her choices, her strength fascinated him. It was during one of these visits that Ethan recognized her from the past. Years ago, she had been part of an internship program at one of his companies. Ethan had met many young people during those programs, but there was something about Maya's determination and poise that had stood out even then. He remembered her leaving the internship suddenly without explanation, a decision that had puzzled him at the time. Now, seeing her in this diner, so grounded and nurturing, he realized that life had not been easy for her. She had likely sacrificed many opportunities along the way. Ethan wanted to know her story. One day, as Lily played quietly in a corner of the diner, Ethan struck up a casual conversation. He learned that Maya had faced hardships early in life, losing her parents and taking responsibility for her younger brother, making sacrifices to ensure he had a stable home and education. She had given up dreams of further education and career advancement to support her family. Ethan felt a mixture of admiration and sorrow. It was clear she carried the weight of the world on her shoulders, yet she did so with dignity and grace. Through these visits, a quiet bond began to form. Ethan noticed how Lily would spontaneously reach for Maya's hand, share stories about her day, or snuggle close when she felt shy. And Maya, in turn, would respond with warmth and encouragement, making Lily feel safe and loved. Ethan, observing them, felt a strange and unfamiliar emotion rising in his chest, a combination of gratitude, respect, and a tentative hope. For the first time in years, he wondered if there might be someone who could fill a role in their lives that he alone could not. The media and the public had no idea what was happening. Ethan remained a careful observer, ensuring nothing leaked about these visits. It was private, quiet, and personal, an oasis in a life that was usually chaotic and public. As he watched Maya and Lily interact, Ethan realized that some connections could not be forced or bought. They had to happen naturally, and what he saw between his daughter and Maya was genuine. It was rare, fragile, and beautiful. One evening, as they left the diner, Ethan felt a small shift within himself. He realized that he was not just observing Maya out of curiosity anymore. He was learning from her strength, humility, and capacity to care. It reminded him of what mattered most in life: love, empathy, and the quiet moments that shape relationships. Maya had unknowingly opened a door to something new for Ethan and Lily, and he could sense that life as they knew it was about to change in ways none of them could have predicted. Ethan had been visiting the small diner regularly now, and with each visit, he learned more about Maya and her life. He had come to realize that her warmth toward Lily was not just a friendly gesture. It was genuine. It's deeply rooted in a sense of responsibility and love that extended far beyond the diner. One afternoon, Ethan found a quiet moment to talk with her outside the busy hours of the restaurant. He gently asked about her life, curious about the person who had so effortlessly captured Lily's heart. Maya hesitated at first, her eyes dropping to the floor. She had spent years protecting her private life, never revealing the struggles that shaped her. But seeing Ethan's sincerity, she felt a cautious trust forming. Maya told him about her childhood, which had not been easy. She had lost her parents at a young age, leaving her to care for her teenage brother Daniel. The responsibility had fallen entirely on her shoulders, forcing her to grow up faster than most. She worked multiple jobs to pay the bills, manage the house, and make sure Daniel stayed in school and safe. Ethan listened intently, struck by the strength and determination that shone through her words. He realized that Maya's quiet resilience, her ability to smile despite hardship, and her natural kindness were what had drawn Lily to her in the first place. As Maya spoke, Ethan could not help but admire her. She had given up personal dreams to provide for her brother, sacrificing college opportunities and career advancement. Her story was filled with difficult choices and sacrifices that few people could truly understand. Yet she had never asked for sympathy or charity. She simply did what had to be done, every day, with patience and courage. Ethan felt a deep respect for her, a feeling that went beyond casual admiration. He began to see her as more than just a kind waitress. She was a remarkable woman who carried more weight on her shoulders than most people could imagine. Lily, oblivious to the seriousness of the conversation, continued to talk and laugh, holding Maya's hand as if she had always known her. The innocence of the child, paired with Maya's unwavering care, created a quiet magic in the diner. Ethan realized that Lily's bond with Maya was something rare, a connection that went beyond words, beyond logic. It was instinctive, pure, and heartfelt. Watching them, he felt a flicker of hope he had not allowed himself to feel in years. That perhaps his daughter could have a mother figure in her life, someone who truly cared. One day, during another visit, Ethan noticed Maya's exhaustion. She had stayed late the night before, working a double shift to cover extra expenses for Daniel's school. Her hands were tired, and her movements slightly slower than usual. But she still smiled brightly at Lily. Ethan's heart ached, seeing the strain she carried, but he also felt a growing admiration for her. He realized that she had been quietly enduring these hardships for years, and yet she never complained. It made him reflect on his own life, how he had the freedom to do almost anything, yet sometimes felt weighed down by responsibilities that seemed smaller in comparison. As weeks passed, Ethan became more involved, though cautiously. He did not want to overstep or make Maya feel like she was under scrutiny. Instead, he observed, offered small gestures of kindness, and listened when she chose to share pieces of her life. One afternoon, he learned that Daniel had been struggling at school not with grades, but with authority. He had gotten into a minor conflict with teachers and peers, a situation that could have escalated if left unchecked. Maya's worry was visible. She feared the consequences for her brother, even though she had been doing her best to guide him. Ethan, recognizing the situation, quietly offered support without making it seem like charity. He arranged for some guidance for Daniel through connections he had, ensuring the boy would get mentorship and support rather than punishment. Maya was initially hesitant to accept help, wary of outsiders interfering in her life. But as Ethan explained that he simply wanted to make sure her brother had opportunities and guidance, her walls began to crumble slightly. She realized that he genuinely cared, not just for Lily, but for her and Daniel as well. Ethan's involvement was not about wealth or influence. It was about understanding, empathy, and recognition of the struggles she had endured silently. It was the first time Maya had allowed someone outside her family to see her challenges and offer assistance without judgment. Ethan also began to understand why Lily had connected with Maya so easily. The bond was not just about friendship or charm. It was about trust, kindness, and the feeling of being understood. Maya treated Lily with respect, patience, and warmth that Ethan could not have taught her himself. He realized that sometimes life brings the right people into your path, people who fit perfectly into your world without being forced. Maya had become an essential part of Lily's life in a very short time, and Ethan could see the positive impact she had on his daughter. The more Ethan observed, the more he reflected on his own life and the life he wanted for Lily. He had spent years focusing on business, money, and success, often at the cost of personal relationships. Now he saw the importance of connections, of human warmth, and the subtle ways kindness can transform lives. Maya, without even trying, had shown him that. She was strong, yet gentle, responsible, yet nurturing, and through her care, Lily was thriving emotionally. Ethan realized that some things could not be bought or arranged. They had to happen naturally. And this bond was one of those rare, precious occurrences. One afternoon, As Ethan left the diner with Lily, he felt a quiet determination. He knew that Maya's presence in their lives had the potential to change everything, but he also knew he had to proceed carefully. He wanted to protect the fragile trust and genuine connection that had formed. Ethan resolved to continue supporting Maya subtly, giving her space to grow and navigate her own life, while allowing the natural bond between her and Lily to flourish. As the weeks turned into months, the relationship deepened. Ethan noticed small changes in himself as well. He became more patient, more attentive to the little things, and more aware of the emotional world around him. Maya's quiet strength and Lily's innocence were teaching him lessons he had long forgotten. He realized that wealth and influence were not the measure of life's success. The impact one could have on others through kindness, understanding, and care was far more valuable. By the end of this period, Ethan had a new perspective on family, responsibility, and love. He no longer saw Maya as just a waitress or a former intern. She was a remarkable woman who had endured hardship with grace, someone who had become an important part of his daughter's world, and someone whose presence made him question what the future could hold for all three of them. He understood that life sometimes offered unexpected gifts, and it was up to him to recognize and nurture them without forcing the outcome. Ethan had been quietly observing Maya and her interactions with Lily for months, and the bond between them had grown stronger with each visit to the diner. Lily's laughter, the way she ran toward Maya as soon as she saw her, and the trust in her small gestures had captured Ethan's heart in ways he had not expected. He could see that Maya cared deeply for Lily, but he also understood that Maya carried a heavy responsibility with her brother, Daniel. One afternoon, Ethan noticed a troubling situation that would test the limits of Maya's strength and reveal even more about her character. Daniel had gotten into trouble at school. It was a relatively minor issue, an argument with a classmate that escalated beyond what the teachers could handle, but in Maya's eyes, it was a crisis. She was tense, moving quickly between tables, trying to keep her composure as she served customers, while also worrying about how she would handle Daniel at home. Ethan, watching from a booth with Lily beside him, could see the strain on her face. Her hands shook slightly as she carried a tray of food, and the usually bright spark in her eyes was shadowed by anxiety. Ethan felt a surge of concern for her. He knew the burden she carried was immense, and he wanted to help without overstepping. Later that evening, after the diner had quieted down, Ethan approached Maya with caution. "I heard about your brother," he said softly. Maya looked at him, her expression wary but polite. "Yes, it's nothing too serious, but I don't want him to get into more trouble," she admitted, her voice carrying the weight of years of responsibility. Ethan nodded, understanding completely. "I can help," he offered, careful not to make it sound like charity. "I have some connections that can provide guidance and support. Nothing official, just mentoring and advice to help him navigate the situation." Maya hesitated, unsure if she could trust anyone with her personal struggles, but she sensed Ethan's genuine concern. Over the next few days, Ethan quietly arranged for Daniel to meet with a counselor and a mentor he knew could help him understand his choices and guide him without judgment. He made sure everything was done respectfully, so Maya would feel in control and not like her family life was being exposed to outsiders. When he informed her, she was hesitant at first, unsure if she could accept help, but she saw the sincerity in Ethan's eyes and agreed. She realized that he was not trying to take over or control her life. He was offering support in a way that allowed her to remain strong and independent. During this time, Ethan also observed how Maya's dedication to her brother went hand in hand with her care for Lily. Despite the stress, she continued to be patient and nurturing with his daughter, showing love in small, consistent ways. She read stories, played games, and comforted Lily when she was upset, never allowing her own exhaustion to diminish the warmth she offered. Ethan marveled at her resilience, how she could face her own challenges and still create a safe and joyful world for the children she cared about. This period became a turning point in Ethan's perception of Maya. He realized that her strength was not just in surviving hardship, but in thriving despite it. She had cultivated empathy, patience, and a remarkable capacity for love because of the trials she had endured. Ethan reflected on his own life. He had wealth, influence, and comfort. But he had never had to face the kind of struggles Maya had faced. Her ability to handle adversity with grace and continue to nurture those around her inspired him. He saw qualities in her that he valued deeply and had longed for in his own life: resilience, compassion, and selflessness. As the days went by, Ethan and Maya began to talk more openly. She shared small details about her dreams and what she had once hoped for before life. It forced her to take on adult responsibilities so early. She had wanted to pursue higher education, travel, and build a career she was passionate about. Life had demanded that she put those dreams aside, but she never complained. She had channeled her energy into caring for Daniel, creating stability and love where there had been loss and uncertainty. Ethan listened, fascinated by her courage and dedication. He realized that Maya's life, while difficult, had shaped her into someone rare and remarkable. Ethan also noticed a change in himself during this time. He began to question his own choices, how much he had focused on work, status, and money, while overlooking the small but profound aspects of life that brought real meaning. Seeing Maya's devotion and the way she brought joy and security to both, Lily and Daniel made him reflect on his own role as a father. He realized that while he could provide materially for Lily, what she truly needed was love, stability, and emotional connection, qualities Maya seemed to offer naturally. One afternoon, Maya confided in Ethan that she had been struggling to balance her responsibilities. "I just want to make sure Daniel has a future," she said softly. "And I want Lily to be happy. I don't know if I can do it all." Ethan reached out gently. "You're stronger than you think," he told her. "But you don't have to do it alone." Those words, simple as they were, seemed to resonate deeply with her. She realized that Ethan wasn't offering control or judgment, but partnership and support, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe that someone else could care without expecting anything in return. The quiet support that Ethan provided slowly allowed Maya to relax in small ways. She began to open up more, laughing more freely, and allowing herself to enjoy the moments with Lily without constantly worrying about Daniel. Ethan watched these changes with a sense of relief and hope. He realized that by simply being present and offering help without pressure, he could make a significant difference in their lives. It was a lesson in patience, empathy, and the power of subtle intervention. During this turning point, Ethan also saw how Lily's happiness and security were intertwined with Maya's stability. Lily flourished under Maya's gentle guidance, showing creativity, confidence, and curiosity that Ethan hadn't seen before. He recognized that the bond between Maya and Lily was not just about affection, it was about safety, trust, and emotional growth. Maya had become an essential figure in Lily's life, someone who complemented Ethan's role as a father by offering a nurturing presence that he could not fully provide alone. By the end of this period, Ethan realized that everything was changing. The dynamic between him, Lily, and Maya had shifted from simple curiosity and observation to a deeper understanding and connection. Maya's resilience, her quiet strength, and her ability to love without reservation had created a bond that was transforming all of their lives. Ethan knew that he had a choice to make: to continue observing from a distance or to step forward and allow this relationship to grow into something more meaningful. He also recognized that this moment was delicate. Maya had faced so many hardships and had learned to rely only on herself. Any misstep could break the trust that had formed. Ethan was determined to proceed carefully, respecting her autonomy while offering support and encouragement. He wanted her to feel empowered, not indebted, and to understand that his involvement was driven by care, not obligation or control. As Ethan drove Lily home that evening, he felt a quiet but profound sense of clarity. The turning point had arrived, not through dramatic gestures or life-changing events, but through small acts of trust, support, and empathy. He understood that Maya's presence in their lives was not a temporary comfort, it was a foundation for something new, something that could reshape their understanding of family, love, and resilience. He knew that the next steps would be crucial, and he was ready to move forward thoughtfully. Guided by the lessons he had learned from Maya's strength and Lily's innocence, The weeks after the turning point were filled with subtle, quiet changes in the lives of Ethan, Maya, and Lily. Their bond had grown stronger, deeper, and more meaningful. Lily's happiness was visible in the little things she did, her laughter, the way she held Maya's hand, and the way she ran to greet her each time they arrived at the diner. Ethan watched this bond with a mix of awe and gratitude. For years, he had worried about raising Lily alone, about how to fill the gap left by her mother. Yet now he realized that life had presented a solution he could not have anticipated. Maya. One morning, as the sun spilled golden light across the diner, Maya's usual cheerful demeanor was tinged with concern. A small electrical fire had broken out in the kitchen overnight, causing damage that prevented the diner from opening. Maya had no income for the next few days, and the thought of covering bills and caring for Daniel weighed heavily on her. Ethan noticed the worry on her face immediately. He could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she moved cautiously as she handled the small tasks in the diner. Lily, sensing Maya's unease, hugged her tightly, whispering, "It's okay, Maya. Everything will be fine." Ethan felt a pang in his chest. His daughter's faith in Maya was unwavering, and it reflected the trust they had built over months. Ethan decided to step in quietly. He didn't want to make Maya feel indebted or uncomfortable, but he knew he could help in a way that respected her independence. He offered her a position in one of his foundation programs, a role that allowed her to pursue a meaningful career. Continue supporting Daniel, and also care for Lily without being overwhelmed. Maya was initially hesitant. She had spent years relying only on herself, and the idea of someone else helping her in such a personal way was almost foreign. But Ethan explained gently that he wasn't asking anything in return. This was not charity. It was an opportunity to thrive while staying true to herself. Over the next few weeks, Maya adjusted to her new role. The work was fulfilling and gave her a sense of purpose beyond the diner. For the first time in years, she felt the freedom to explore her own potential while maintaining her responsibilities at home. Daniel benefited to Ethan, had arranged for mentorship programs, and Maya could focus on her own growth without sacrificing her brother's well-being. Lily, of course, thrived in this new environment. She had Maya's undivided attention when she needed it, and the stability of her father's quiet support gave her confidence to explore, play, and learn. During this time, Ethan observed the subtle ways their lives were transforming. Maya's laughter returned in full, her confidence grew, and she began to dream again. She talked to Ethan about ideas she had once shelved, plans to take courses, to learn new skills, to grow in ways that had seemed impossible before. Ethan felt a deep sense of satisfaction, realizing that his support had helped unlock the strength and potential that had always been within her. He also recognized the beauty of watching a relationship evolve naturally, without force or expectation, and how Lily had been the bridge that brought them together. The connection between Maya and Lily continued to blossom. Lily's innocent requests for attention and affection had turned into a deeper bond of trust, respect, and love. Ethan noticed how Maya could comfort Lily in ways he sometimes struggled to manage alone. She had a remarkable intuition, a sense of when Lily needed guidance, play, or just quiet presence. Watching them interact, Ethan felt a sense of completion he had not known was missing. Maya had not replaced Lily's mother, nor had she attempted to. She had simply become someone who enriched their lives, offering the emotional support and care that Lily needed to thrive. One afternoon, as they were baking cookies together in the kitchen, Ethan watched Lily laugh as Maya guided her hands to shape the dough. The sight filled him with an unexpected warmth. He realized that this moment, the simplicity, the joy, the quiet presence of love, was what he had been missing in his life. Maya's presence had brought balance, stability, and happiness to their home. She had become indispensable in ways that transcended the ordinary. She was not just a caregiver or a friend, but a central figure in their family life. Ethan also reflected on his own transformation. The experience had taught him humility, patience, and the importance of emotional connection. He had come to understand that wealth and status could not buy the most meaningful aspects of life: trust, genuine care, and authentic bonds. Maya's strength and grace had shown him that love and family could be built in unexpected ways. He realized that life's challenges, when met with courage and kindness, could create opportunities for growth, healing, and connection. The relationship between Ethan and Maya also deepened naturally. They spent more time talking, sharing stories, and supporting one another in small but meaningful ways. Ethan admired her resilience and integrity, while Maya came to respect his quiet generosity and sincerity. They did not rush into declarations or expectations. Their relationship evolved at its own pace, guided by mutual understanding and shared care for Lily. The foundation of trust and respect they built was strong, and it allowed them to navigate life's challenges together with a sense of unity. As days turned into months, the trio became inseparable. Friends and neighbors noticed the change in Lily. She was more confident, happier, and emotionally secure. Ethan saw Maya's influence in her curiosity, empathy, and creativity. He realized that Lily had not just found a caretaker in Maya. She had found a mentor, a guide, and a source of unconditional love. The small act of Lily hugging Maya, asking her to be her mom, had grown into a life-changing bond that reshaped all their lives. One evening, after a long day of work, Ethan watched as Maya read a bedtime story to Lily. The warmth in the room, the quiet laughter, and the sense of security were palpable. Ethan understood more clearly than ever that this was not a fleeting phase. It was a new beginning. Maya's presence had created a safe, loving environment for his daughter and had reminded him of the importance of trust, connection, and compassion. The simple moments, like shared laughter and bedtime stories, had become the foundation of something lasting and meaningful. By the end of this period, everything had changed for Ethan, Maya, and Lily. Maya had regained her independence and confidence. Daniel had guidance and support he lacked before. And Lily had found the love and stability she needed. Ethan realized that life had a way of arranging events that seemed coincidental, but were actually transformative. A single hug, an innocent question from a child, and a chance encounter at a small diner had reshaped the lives of three people forever. Ethan, watching Maya and Lily together, felt a deep sense of peace. He understood that family was not always defined by blood, but by love, care, and shared experience. Maya had become a central figure in their lives, not replacing anyone, but adding to the richness and warmth of their world. Lily's simple question had led to healing and growth, and Ethan knew that this bond built on trust and kindness would endure in the quiet moments of the evening. As the city lights twinkled outside their window, Ethan realized that his life had shifted in ways he could not have planned. The connection between Maya and Lily had not just changed his daughter, it had changed him. He had learned to value patience, empathy, and the quiet strength of love. Maya had shown him that life's true treasures were found in the bonds we build, the care we offer, and the courage to accept help when it is given sincerely. For Ethan, Maya and Lily, life had transformed into something richer, fuller, and more meaningful. What began with a simple hug at a diner had grown into a relationship that nurtured, healed, and inspired. They had become a family, not by design, but by the natural unfolding of love, trust, and compassion. And as Ethan watched Maya tuck Lily into bed that night, he knew that this new chapter of their lives was only the beginning of a beautiful journey together.